Everyone, thank you so much for being here tonight. My name is Katie Walsh. I'm a film critic here in Los Angeles, and I'm so excited to talk about this remarkable film with the filmmaker. So please join me in welcoming writer-director Kristen Stewart. Hey, thank you so much for being here and talking about this film tonight. I know this was a really long process of getting this film made, and so I just commend you for sticking it through. And I guess I'll just start at the end, which is now, which is like, what has it been like to bring this film out into the world and share it with people after living with it for so long in your head and just with your collaborators?
Feels great. It does feel like a kind of a skirt lifting, a kind of like genuine, like exuberant kind of exhibitionist act. Like, yeah, for something to feel like kind of not worth it for that long, or at least like in terms of other people's perception. And that's definitely not to sound like kind of like victimized in any way. I genuinely think like that this was wow, is someone fucking with the levels? It's really loud all of a sudden. But like it was like a hard sell. So it completely makes sense to me that, you know, like on paper, that it was hard to, well, it doesn't matter. But basically, how does it feel now? Incredible. Like, we went through like some hardships that really could have like sunk the ship, and they didn't. And the first experience thing of writing something so specifically over such a long period of time, and then coming home and like seeing newness and like ingratiating yourself with material that like must be met because it was totally on its own accord created and discovered, and then ultimately like kind of shoved back into some sort of like foundational text that did exist, thank God. Like when you go make something and you think you totally ruined it, and you come home and you go, actually, we did exactly what we set out to do. It's just that it has a kind of new face. So watching that, like, you know, like the body of the movie meet new people, I'm like, have fun, I'm out. See ya.
That's like the perfect, you know, approach to it though. It's like, it's not yours anymore. It's kind of like for other people to have their own experience with. Okay, so to go back to the beginning, I'm curious when you first encountered and read this remarkable, intoxicating book by Lidia and decided that this would be a project that you needed and wanted to tackle and bring to the screen.
I read the book really kind of irresponsibly on like someone else's movie set.
Irresponsibly?
Yeah, what are you doing reading a book on a movie set? It's crazy.
Isn't there a lot of waiting?
Yeah, but come on.
I know, now we're getting a little buzz back here.
Okay, I reached out and just went like, you know, for some reason, like there are, I guess the reason that I wanted to make, you respond to a lot of books that shouldn't necessarily be movies, you know, like, it's hard to not encounter something that you love and not imagine it as a scene or like as something that you could like get up on its feet. Just like, because this is what I do and I've just been lucky enough to do it for so long, and like, this one was activating in a very new way. I've always wanted to find my sort of portal into this. And her book is foundationally activating in terms of like how encouraging it is, like as a voice activator. And then additionally, the form of it, like the entire shape of the book invites kind of like throwing away of the details, where you go, the person doesn't really matter. it's like the shape of it that matters, and the malleability of memory and reality, and how writing affects that, and how filmmaking affects that. And so like, if a lot of your reality is shaped by what you read, and a lot of your own memories are unearthed by what you read when it's really true, this was such a nice, perfect fucking way of making something really personal, but also about everyone. And so it's like a biopic, if you think of it in terms of memoir, but it's also just like about writing.
Yeah.
It's definitely about taking something and breaking it and then putting it back together and finding like a sort of Frankenstein version of something that's now saying something different. And the kind of like evergreen of that is so dope. You know, like it never ends. You can just always break it and remake it.
I mean, I love that this is an adaptation of a memoir that is so much about writing, and that we see her writing, we see her words, and that I also feel like the shape of the movie itself is about writing and editing in a way, like the way you edit your own writing, but also the way the movie is edited. And you know, there's this saying that like the movie is written 3 times, like it's written on the page, and then in production, and then in editing, and in post. But I'm curious, like what, like especially the early sequences where it's like the childhood, and it's these snippets of memories and flashbacks and some flash forwards, and this motif continues throughout. How much of these sequences did you like sort of find in the edit, or had you written them, you know, and prepared them, you know, going into the film?
The script was like super dense, and we took a lot out. But the springboard of it was like willing to allow for like things to, well, thank God, because we got so fucked. Excuse me. But basically there were images that could be easily swapped out, but needed to be there in a kind of like placeholder sense, because it's better if a movie can like live, or at least for this particular movie, it was better that it could have kind of its own experience and create its own memories, because what ended up happening was like some things were super like precisely accomplished and not lost, and I didn't shipwreck them, but other things did get lost. And luckily what ended up standing in for those moments were just, you know, kind of couldn't be planned for necessarily, but they were always like, we were awaiting the moments. I knew that it needed to be broken in this way. And also that time had to feel sort of continuous. If anyone, and look, maybe it doesn't work for everyone, but the goal was like to go, if anyone's wondering where they are at any given moment, then I've kind of failed, you know. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's like when you recall things, there are striking images. There might be some words that you ascribe to those images, but they're personal, and they might be like a little broken, maybe sometimes quite leading. Like it was always like, the plan was for exploration to fill in the blanks of maybe triteness or kind of like overtly planned things, but they were always planned for. It was like the way that we cut it was always like, we must, you know, we're gonna like turn the blender on fucking high.
Yeah. Well, it felt like when you're doing your own writing, where you're like constantly editing, and like I could move this sentence here and this could come here, and how do I foreshadow?
Rewriting.
Yeah,
reiterating. Yeah, the whole thing is like, maybe I remember that in this way, but then I remember it in 15 other ways that are not disingenuous. And it's cool to see this person. I just cut you off.
No. Please, we're here to listen to you, not me.
Not me.
It's cool to see this person
correct herself and sort of question herself, and question also like the validity of what something true really means, when really like the more important thing is like where you put it in your body.
I have a very specific question, which is kind of just because I'm curious about it, but there's a couple times in a couple different scenes where like the color changes in the edit, when she's doing the reading, and then when she's having a conversation with, I think it's the second boyfriend, but
The guy.
yeah,
Second guy.
second guy. But that almost feels like, is it the what really happened and then how she remembers it, or like what's going on there?
Oh, that's so cool, because like, yeah, we've delivered DCPs to festivals and everyone's always like, oh my gosh, something's wrong, you fucked up.
No, it's a choice.
Yeah, it was like, we were just, honestly, to be real, it was like in full transparency, you sit and you just see like a bunch of versions of it. There was a couple moments where I was like, you know, we could have gone like different ways in grading and we would have made those scenes consistent, but I really liked like 3, and I went, this scene is so like, it's 3 different scenes, and so we might as well just use them. And it started informing, like, it like really bolstered the edit. Like I was like, oh man, and now we have a reason to. And then it also, like, we went back and forth in sound, like we colored and sound, we sound designed and colored this movie in like 2 weeks before we went to Cannes, and then it came back, luckily, like I had like time to finish the movie. But those things like were OG choices that we just went, like, I just think it might be better to just keep those really dissonant and different. And like, it just feels like all of a sudden she's like a different person in those moments where it's like, she just gets to come from different places in time, and like, it just, they're color, it's like memories are colored differently. So it's cool that you didn't think it was a mistake, because it wasn't.
No, I could tell it was a choice. I've also, you know, whenever I talk,
Especially in the fucking reading.
yeah.
Whereas like, it was really hard to like do jump cuts. Jump cuts are tough when you're just like, and then we made it seem longer for no reason, because it was like, because you know what I mean? So it would have like felt totally clunky, but it's like, and maybe, you know, it did, but it's okay.
It gives it an intentionality of the jump cuts, but when I have,
She's fucking.
well, I wanted to talk about Imogen, which is, you know, a lot of times directors, I'll say, well, how'd you work with your actor? And they say, the best thing is to just pick the right person. So how did you cast Imogen? Was she someone that you had been thinking about for this role? And like, what was your, you know, how did you kind of usher her as a director through this physical, emotional, wrung out journey?
She was just like in the perfect place in her life. Like definitely staying out of the way is so important. I like both as an actor and a director, I really feel sometimes like putting a leash on yourself is the best you can do for all of your fellows. Like, you're like, just shut up, like just try and stop, you know.
Yeah.
But while like remaining fully present and open, and like I like, you know, Imogen happens to have been somebody who's like, you know, she's worked so much. She's been, in my opinion, because I'm totally biased, like the best thing in everything she's ever done. And you know, she's like, me and her, we made this movie when I was like, okay, so I think we were both 35, and it was just kind of at a time where it was like, okay, I'm just gonna take it off. I'm just gonna like fully put, like, there was just something about like us hanging finally after all these years, because we've bounced off each other peripherally, and this is I'm just staring at the floor a lot. Imogen is a force to be reckoned, like, you know, she's, this movie is about Lidia Yuknavitch, and it's about a writer, and it's like about a lot of things, but it also, you know, not to sound like I'm like peddling my movie is universal, but I am. Like, it is fucking about everyone, and like, she, I don't know, in kind of like giving herself over to this at a certain stage of her life when she was ready to let it like really kind of all out and like let it bear. I got really lucky and I didn't have to do anything. I mean, like, she's, you know, she was just kind of ready to go.
And then you've surrounded her with such a great cast as well. Can you talk a little bit about Kim Gordon, casting Kim Gordon in that small part, and also Jim Belushi, who's so great as Ken Kesey. Were they just people you wanted to work with, or how did they come into the fold?
It blows my head off when I think about who's in this movie. Jim is, he's like really the type he's like the man that I really want to give me a nice pat on the back, you know? And like, he also is a really unbelievable writing partner because he's like an actor who ad-libs incessantly, but like in the most researched and concerted and thoughtful and narrative way. Like there are things that he said in this movie that I will never take credit for. He brought a rock to set on his last day and gave it to her and started talking about metaphor not mattering, you know, fuck a metaphor. It's just a rock that fell. And it like, I think elicits my favorite flash in the movie where she like drops the rock and she's like, oh, like, it's like when someone older than you and who kind of has, because he's a man who doesn't necessarily relate to that particular strife, but sees her and wants to hold that and like alleviate in some way. But it is it's not that it's disconnected, it's that it's remote. It's like, we love each other, but like, fuck, we have such different experiences.
Yeah.
And he made that scene, I mean, like, that guy is a genius. Like, he's like, just like an unbelievable, nice guy. And we were really lucky to kick it with him. And Laura Birch has like been my big sister for fucking ever, but I've never met her.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, she's like in everything. I mean, like, I just grew up with this woman, and you know, she's great.
And then Kim Gordon,
And Kim, yeah.
she, I think, is so perfect in that really small part as someone who exudes this like strength and power, but also like real caretaking as well. And I just think she's like so terrific in that one scene.
Mommy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not to say that, but to say that.
Right. It's true.
Yeah.
You inhabit a space that's like permission and you know, pride. And it definitely feels like someone who can like intellectually guide us through something that painful without it feeling like that's like the destigmatizing moment of like, I'm gonna repossess my body through action and words at the same time and like kind of be like seen in a way that doesn't feel punishing but actually feels like therapy. And like you know, you need like a really smart to do that with. And like Kim is absolutely, and also she just sort of also she's like someone like Kathy Acker, who's like, you know, find your own words for this and also tread over the old ones and repurpose them and destroy them. She's a huge representative of ideas that the movie holds or tries to hold.
Yeah.
And she just gets to be there as a symbol for a moment. And so if she's gonna be mommy, then that's like definitely the right thing.
I mean, genius, stroke of casting there. I know Lidia and was kind of, she's a producer, like how was, you know, working with her creatively throughout this? I mean, did you kind of feel like you had permission to make your own thing, or did you check in with her quite often, or what does she think of the film?
She hasn't seen the movie yet, but I was talking to her today, and like, she like needs to watch it with a coven of women. We need to go up to Portland. It's like,
I get it.
But she's like, I mean, like, you know, I didn't. She feels like a teacher, like a mom to me. Like she feels like we've spent like a bit of time together, but there are people that like you meet in life where you're like, you really did help me along. And it's hard to say in a room full of like tons of people, but it's like the realist. And like through her writing and also just her presence and her like sort of like, yeah, I mean, she's been like incredibly, every time we do anything, she's like sending me the most, these words are so puny, supportive messages. She's like, but she's just like, you know, first of all, busy because she's a teacher and she's consistently like, you know, helping people with their manuscripts and like, it's just like the most just like active form of let's go that there's ever been, but we need to get, and also she's like a forest animal and she's living in Portland and it's hard to get her out. But she's the shit. She's like the reason for all of this, so yeah.
Her book, I just have to say, like, it feels like you fall into it, like you fall into someone's consciousness and memories and brain. It's like the most intoxicating experience of starting a book where you're just like, holy shit, like you're on this ride. And like you were saying, like her command of language is like so creative and different, and just the way she puts words together is remarkable. So that's not even a question, it's just a recommendation for the book. But other than the book, like, did you have any sort of artistic or cinematic North Stars or, you know, touchstones that you would come back to for inspiration, whether in the writing or production or post-process? Like influences, things that you were thinking about?
Dude, I'm gonna be real, like, of course, like, there are a million movies that I love, and like, but no, like, the you know when you read something and there's just like such a flood of imagery, like, and I will say that, like, there are references that like kind of bolster notions where you go, okay, I guess we're allowed to do that, but they're so pretentious. I'm gonna sit here and talk about Tarkovsky. I'm not gonna do that.
You're not gonna talk about Tarkovsky?
Oh, I can. I want me to, but like, fuck, like, I mean, there are like, I mean, honestly, like, Celine Sciamma, like, Water Lilies, there's like an atmospheric thing going on there but like, these are things that I think I tied to after wanting to make it, where you go, okay, so I am allowed to do this because there's this and there's this and there's this. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I used those things to build this thing.
Well, I do think this film feels very like unique and of its own rhythm and syntax and expression. Like, you know, obviously, you know, we're, you know, cinema is in a lineage and it's in a family and all this stuff, but this feels so marching to the beat of its own drum, to use like that kind of cliche. But it's its own rhythm.
Like, it definitely, I mean, I could sit here, like, I don't want to avoid the question. I mean, We the Animals, Morgan Caller. There's I can tell you a million movies that make me come alive and that definitely made me feel like this could be possible. But any movie that it either like has to be or it doesn't have to be, and like, you know, love it or hate it. Like, there are just some movies where you're like, well, that had to do its thing. Yeah. And like, you know. This is a crazy answer to find yourself in the middle of.
Well, no, it is, it's sort of like the long gestation of it, so to speak, because I know it took years for you to get this made, and I do think that it is like, it's almost like it had to be made because you stuck with it for so long and you were so determined to like get it out into the world, and you did, and so it's like, sometimes maybe you were just channeling it.
Well, I was really lucky to make it, and there were a lot of movies that like led the way. But when I think about like the things that actually like put me here, it wasn't that I saw a bunch of other movies. It was like, you know, everything makes us who the fuck we are. Like, of course, like you know, the path to being able to make a film is always, as everyone here probably completely understands from the inside out, is like, you can make a movie about every movie.
Yeah. And that's not to diminish, like, oh, it just happened. It, like, you work very hard to make it happen and to make it come into the world. So.
Stamped my little feet.
Well, thank you so much for being here, and thank you all for being here and for talking about the film.